Bob Santelli, Jimmy LaFave.
One of the things, when we go back, and we've been friends and fellow colleagues on stages together, but I have to pay tribute to the person who kind of introduced me to your music, and that's Nora. Nora, you were the one who basically, I didn't know you, that I became a fan and a friend. So I just wanted to set that stage. But as we begin to think about your career and your life as it was connected to Woody Guthrie, I want you to step back a little bit in time, because I want you to try and tell us, if you can, one of your earliest musical memories as a young kid growing up. How do you get involved in music, and what was it that pushed you into a career in music?
Well, like most American school children, you had your music class in elementary school, and you do those songs like "Get Along Home, Cindy, Cindy," and of course, "This Land Is Your Land" was always pretty much in those songbooks. So that's when I started kind of learning about music, and then just through my mom, you know, she loved music. She loved especially country music. And so there was always music in the house.
And you grew up, of course, you're born and raised here in Oklahoma. Explain, where was that and when was that?
Well, I was, you know, born actually in Texas. And then we moved to Oklahoma my junior year of high school, because my dad's job had shifted, and just by some lucky synchronicity, he got a job right outside of Tulsa here at a little town called Claremore. It's famous for Will Rogers, his museums there, etc. But he, for some reason, said, "I think I'll move my family. You guys can live in Stillwater. I think it's a nice college town and it has more to offer." And so that actually was the impetus for, it was such a magical musical spot. You know, Stillwater's now known as the birthplace of red dirt music. So there was just kindred spirits there, and being isolated on the prairie there, but being a big college, you know, it's actually the biggest college in Oklahoma. It's bigger than OU. You just had all these, like they had an international school of business, so there's a lot of international families live there. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And when I moved from Mesquite, which is outside of Dallas, a very, very, you know, conservative part of Dallas, it's where the rodeo is, so it's more of a cowboy town. And, so, you know, at high school, they'd call me out of class and put the ruler, I don't know if that ever happened to you, you know, make sure your hair was, and so I thought, oh, now I'm going even further into, you know, to move to Oklahoma. But it turned out Stillwater was years ahead. They had open lunch. You know, we could drive our cars off campus. There's no hair code. I had hair down to here. So it was just an odd juxtaposition at this progressive giant city of Dallas. But Stillwater just, it's where I met all my friends, the Red Dirt Rangers, the Bob Childers, the Tom Skinner, Greg Jacobs, all the great Okie songwriters, and we would, you know, have picking parties and share albums and say, "Hey, check this, I just got this Butch Hancock record," or, you know, from Texas, or Townes Van Zandt. And someone would bring something from the East Coast, so it just had a big influence on me.
You know, you mentioned the Red Dirt movement, and you're mentioning people like Townes Van Zandt, Butch Hancock, but you grew up in the 60s, and you grew up when rock and roll was dominant, and there were so many bands, Beatles on down, Dylan. Were you listening to that out in Oklahoma, and how important was that to your early musical development?
To everything, you know, remember our AM radios, and then, you know, remember when FM first came in with you know, that whole FM vibe.
Opened everything up, right?
Yeah, because then you'd hear really obscure songwriters. Like I remember one, Jimmy Spears. You remember that?
Yeah.
I mean, he died a few years back, but I think if my dad hadn't moved me out of Texas and I found Oklahoma, I'd probably be a different person. I might not even be a musician.
When did you get a guitar?
Well, my mom bought me that green stamp guitar that's in the case over there back in right before probably when I was a freshman in high school, and I also had a Sears and Roebuck drum kit. And I started out as a drummer, but
You did.
But then
Where was the inspiration for being a drummer?
I don't know. I think it might have been from watching those monkeys. I always liked the way that he'd have to turn his head. So I did that a long time up until probably my sophomore in high school. I quit started playing guitar. Yeah.
Why the transition? Meet more girls?
Yeah, I guess.
Drummers didn't meet girls. Drummers never met.
Well, just because I wanted to sing
Yeah.
and
back then, drummers
have a
hardly,
message.
with the exception of Dave Clark from the
Yeah,
Dave Clark
didn't
Five.
really songwriters,
So you get the guitar, and what's the aspiration and the inspiration behind it? Are you listening to Bob Dylan at this point?
Yeah,
Are you
some of
listening
that stuff, and of course James Taylor,
James Taylor?
Joni Mitchell, all the, it seems back in that era there was only about 8 singer-songwriters.
Yeah.
There's Cat Stevens, and, so yeah, just listening to all those.
When you get the guitar, are you saying this is something that I want to do in life? Because my question to you is, if you weren't who you are now, a professional performer, songwriter, singer, recording artist, what would you have done? Who would you have been?
I really don't know. I ask myself that a lot, because I actually, growing up in Stillwater, I never went to college. Once I graduated high school, I worked kind of labor jobs, pipeline crews, and worked at a Swan Rubber company, making, just get off and work like a coal miner with all that carbon on my skin, just sweating out that black. So I started just kind of doing whatever I could do and trying to play music. And then my dad gave me a job part-time driving trucks for him. And so I ended up driving trucks all around the country, delivering parts to pipeline crews.
Yeah.
So I just got to see you saw Woody sing, just all that land and all the people. And it just helped me write songs, helped me get inspired. And like I say, all my Okie brothers just really, we all lifted each other up in song.
What was it difficult growing up? I mean, Stillwater seemed like a little island in Oklahoma. This was some pretty radical times, of course. The country's going through some major changes. There's a lot of division, like now. And you have a situation where, you have hair down here, as you say, and you are trying to fit into a culture that you were a part of the counterculture. Did you run into problems? I mean, this was a world of common laborers. Not a lot of people. Most people who were doing what you do were on college campuses first. You weren't.
That's true, and that's what I mean. It was like a little oasis, and it saved us from a lot of the being out in some. But we certainly got harassed a lot if we got out of the city limits, basically. I mean, Stillwater was so progressive back in that era that at one time, the whole drinking age of the state of Oklahoma was 21, and we had such a progressive hippie town council we got going with all the students that we changed the drinking age of Stillwater to 18. And it was kind of seemed like a good idea at the time. But, we made it into like a mini Las Vegas. All the towns in Oklahoma, all the kids
would come
20 miles down the road from Cushing and stuff. It turned into this complete drinking, party, music.
And you were responsible, at least partly.
So it didn't last too long until the state kind of squashed it. But it was a
good time.
just amazing. The town Stillwater was,
Do you remember the first song you ever wrote?
It's called Texas Rose.
Texas Rose. And what was the
It was
inspiration?
like 3
behind it?
songs, something about real cliche, Texas roads, walking down that highway, Texas roads, gonna see things my way, you know, neon signs and da-da-da, places left behind, you know, but I probably have a copy of it somewhere.
You ever played? Is it
My
ever part
archive.
of your repertoire?
Oh, no.
Not that
But there are several songs from way back in that era I still do play.
good? Like what?
There's a song called Minstrel Boy that I still play. Matter of fact, Brad Piccolo just played it for me the other night. He worked up a surprise version.
Mm-hmm.
And I just re-recorded it because I'm trying to record as many songs as I can with this health issue
Yeah.
I'm up against. So I even recorded Oklahoma Home by Bruce. Because I love that
Yeah.
tune, and
Yeah.
so I thought I'd sing it too. And,
Was Woody a main influence on you back then? You
yeah,
certainly
Woody,
knew him.
because you know, with Bob Childers, I've told this story many times, and others still want it. We'd go down to Okema back when some of the walls were standing of that London house.
Yeah.
You'd see all that graffiti from hobos and stuff, and so we go down there and drink beer and stuff like that, and then even later on, Greg Johnson and all would go there a lot, and we ended up stealing all these stones, giving them.
Oh, all right.
If you played the blue door, he'd give you a Woody
Yeah.
rock from the So I got mine. I got a real big one. So I got that, you know, and even when I went up to Hibbing, Minnesota, there was a fan of mine that lived in Dylan's old house, so he
Yeah.
gave me a window out of Knoxville's bedroom. So I've got like special touchstone
You do.
stuff like
You
that.
definitely do. That's great. You know, as your career progresses, clearly you become, like I said earlier, I know you through your Woody Guthrie connection. You become more and more connected to him, and more connected to him, almost as an interpreter of his music, as well as someone who wrote in his vein. Did you see that coming, or was that something that just happened organically?
Organically, kind of happened, and you know, I just started working on these Woody songs. Nora graciously gave me to co-write, and the first one I wrote was with Woody, his song Peace Town. I don't know if you ever seen those lyrics. Matter of fact, maybe tonight, if we could figure out some way, maybe I could play it through the PA to start my set. Play my newly recorded. We could debut it
I'm
here.
sure we can do that.
But that song just speaks to me so much. And I wrote it where it's kind of in a march. Like we're going to get there, you know.
You know, Nora has done this on more than one occasion, not just with you, but you know, the whole Mermaid Avenue album with Billy Bragg and Wilco, where you know, you get the lyrics and then you put it together. I always thought, if I were a songwriter, that would be very, very intimidating to me. Like, me put together something for Woody. How did you handle that? I mean, here you had
Well, I've
this.
kind of procrastinated a lot because she gave me those lyrics probably long before a lot of these other people. Jonathan Brooks and that's Matt. It's just so, for me, Woody's so close to my heart. It's harder to, so it's just, but once I started really getting into it, it's becoming easier, and I think Woody's kind of there to help guide me through it. I really feel that. And I just owe Nora so much for even doing that for me, you know. She's a connector, like Dina was saying, I'm a connector. I think I learned some of that from Nora, but she's connected so many beautiful people. And I think the person that connected me to Nora was Paul Metza, our old friend. Another guy kind of lost a little bit in the, but that guy's connected people for years, you know. But it's, you know, I just told her at Slade Cleese that we told the story the other night when we played of how this morning, I was born again, he had put the music to it, and he wanted to get it to Nora, and I kept doing it. I finally got it up there, and then she's probably told you the story how Harold threw it in the trash.
Talk about it for the record.
Yeah, so she took Slade's, or he took Slade's songs, and I don't know what he said. I think Nora said something like, who's this young buck thinking he can just take Woody's songs and put music on this, But she took it out of the trash can and said, this is what we need. There might be something here.
Cool.
And from that, all that impetus to Mermaid Avenue, all these songs that are just, it's just such a beautiful, and Slade never would believe the story to me. He thought I was trying to make him feel